To ten Fomorian Order?
Jo.
Na něm je Today a tečka.
Tak je právě běžím.
Ta sranda. Vždycky ta loď, taká dračí loď. Že jsme vlastně vikingové.
Ano.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to week 7 of the European LCS. Now, first off today, it is SK Gaming versus Gambit. Now, Gambit are on the top 2 right now, and it's up to teams like SK to defend.
For this particular matchup, SK and Gambit are both tied for wins. There's only a number of losses that are separating them. This game doesn't determine who's going to be second or third. The positions will remain the same, and of course it is going to determine and because of the win ratios, how many wins they have, how many losses they have, SK and Evil Geniuses, who are a spot below them, are fairly safe for at least a number of games to come. And of course, Gambit are 2-0 against SK at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll see if the track records hold true, but let's take
a look at ty boss fighty, když hraješ sám. Tak to za mě hodně dlouho trvá. Ale nechtěl bych být přejetej.
Gambit, Darian, Diamond Prox, Alexish, Genja, and Edward.
Now these teams are full of all-stars, but for this match, let's focus on the mid lane. SK Gaming's Ocelot and Gambit's Alexish.
Yeah, of course, for Ocelot for SK, the man who picked him out is based on his last few performances against Alexish. He's felt the pressure. He's been experimenting with champions. He has used Jarvan, he used Zed, he used Ari yesterday for the first time, I believe, in EU. He's still trying to find that stable form. And yesterday, he was looking good. He didn't get caught out, he didn't fall behind, and that's definitely going to be key for this matchup.
Yeah, but of course, he's against very stiff competition in Alexish's mid lane as well, though.
Now, Alex, of course, so well known for his aggressive assassin-type champions. Yesterday, he actually did play Twisted Fate, I believe it was, against the Giants, if memory serves. Diana against Twisted Fate, correct. So, he played Diana, had the auto-attack issue, I recall. Now, fell a little bit behind. The team was looking a little bit shaky. So we'll see how he plays. He is an incredibly strong mid laner. You know, mechanically well sound, so good in that role. I'm just going to see what he's going to pick to play against Ocelot, who's a little unpredictable at the moment. You don't really know what card he's going to pull out.
And it's interesting too because these guys just so strong, and Alex, of course, the greatest player, has a really strong impact on the game. Now, this matchup is going to be top caliber as always, and it's going to be really interesting. But once they get past their mutual respect, how are they planning on taking each other down? Let's take a look.
Gambit is really strong. We will have to focus on managing the lanes well. Then we can go into the I think to take Alex out of the game, we will have to do something fancy. We will think about it a lot. But hopefully we come up with something and beat him.
Ocelot is trying to play aggressive all the time, so you can exploit his weaknesses. It becomes predictable, and you can just like try and kill him if he goes that much aggressive.
If we don't hesitate, if we play our game, I think we can beat them. They are not unbeatable, they are humans too, you know, they are not machines.
Not machines they are indeed, unless they play Mecha Kha'Zix or Blitzcrank.
Well, we'll see what champions they play. It's really good to actually hear both Alexish and Ocelot actually talking. You know, Alex was saying Ocelot's kind of predictable. He's very aggressive. He does like to jump forward. So you know that that's his playstyle, and you can counter it. And Ocelot at the end, they're not machines. They're not unbeatable. And Giant played yesterday.
Exactly. Giant put them down, and you gotta wonder if Gambit's a team that goes on tilt. I don't know myself all that well. I know teams like CLG and TSM can do that a little bit over in the North American side of things. And that can always be a really big factor. I mean, we've seen Ocelot, win or loss, there is a very strong emotion on that man's face. And there be tears of happiness or tears of not as much happiness. But certainly, like, you know, again, SK is a team also that can really take it and snowball.
Yeah, in that particular sense, the Gambit are definitely the favorites. I think that even with their performance yesterday, many people are still going to feel that they're simply too well-rounded in practice and they know how to exploit the holes of SK Gaming. You heard Alex saying, look, we know what Ocelot does and we think we know what SK do. So find some way to handle that early day escalation from Gambit and get into the Absolutely, and I actually got a little bit of time to talk to Gambit's Edward before the game. And I kept asking him, what is your strategy for this game?
Se zbudí, říkám, nějaká tma, co hodně slunko, že? Bylo dnes psa, dolů, potom mě vždycky zbudí ráno. No, jdu, otevřu dveře a malém oslepnu od toho bílého svinstva.
So we'll see what happens with this particular game right now. You can see that pressure. And interestingly, in terms of the champion, there is some overlap between them. Kevin and Darren are both of them throughout the course of the event. Ocelot and Alexish. Ocelot recently picking up Zed. Alex, of course, playing Cassidy. We haven't really seen all that much, but Diana is another pick that they have both played to very success. So,
they were targeting the heck out of Herkibaka. Nasus and Volibear both rushed out. Meanwhile, everyone is very surprised that Pressure Band against Edward. It's not like he plays it well, right?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I don't quite understand that ban. But interestingly, what Gambit has done is they haven't left, or they haven't banned out Job in the 4th yet. Now, we've seen Herkibaka playing Nasus and playing very well with Nasus. Volibear, not so much. Volibear was more sort of Diamond Fox's preferred jungler, as it were. But yesterday, and for the previous weeks, Herkiba's job has been very, very good. Ocelot fiddled with it in the middle lane, but it didn't really work out for him all that well.
And of course, as we get the final ban in there for SK against Gambit, those are pretty much the 3 bans I would expect to see against Gambit, like literally every game unless you want to first pick one of those 3.
Yeah, so true. You know, it's just really, really powerful champions. The fact they can, the effect they will have on a game if given to the right players is very, very powerful. Like we were saying, She's one of those hotly contested picks. Given to Kevin in that top lane, he's had some very, very solid performances on Shen throughout the course of the season. How to play against Shen and how to deal with them, it is going to be Darren. He's been arguably one of the strongest Shen players, I would say, probably with Kevin and with Wicked in the top lane, that ninja all season long.
And right off the bat, you're actually seeing them choose what has a good chance of being that top lane, counter lane. And they're looking at least right now, of course, Misfortune is pretty much the champion that Genja plays there. And we'll see what the pick ends up being.
Yeah, another interesting thing about the support, they're not really going to overlap all too much with the exception of something like the Lily. You know, Lily is one that Edward really likes running and is a big favorite of the Spanish.
Které věci padají častěji než jiný. Ta beta match stápám 4krát.
A couple of different choices, but Elise in many roles, and it's one of the powers that she has. Can go top, can go mid, can go jungle, can go support, as you know, Pepper is actually using the geniuses, so not guaranteed to the top lane, but the possibility is definitely there because she's so incredibly strong in that particular role. And exactly like I said, Genja and Misfortune, it's got a very, very good KDA with her. Let's actually pull that one up if you want to get all the statistics. Of course on lolesports.com. Played 6 games, won 6 times, a KDA of 8.4. So I think
jo, třeba teďka dostávám teraz Spirit Remnant. Včera jsem ho nedostal ani jednou. Jenom jsem Fire, Air, Ice.
And now a little bit over a year later, it's obviously clearly back and no one's surprised by the pick anymore. So, you know, again, a lot of great choices right there. The interesting thing as well, though, is now that they've shown Brave Sona as the counter lane, I kind of want to point out, though, that Gambit have gotten to counterpick the top lane, and again, if they wait on Alex's pick here, they get to counterpick mid as well.
It's one of the benefits of being on the red side or purple side is that you do have that option to react. Sona and Graves, it's a fairly tanky lane. You know, that true grip passive from Graves is going to give him a good stack of both armor and magic resistance when I'm playing to his favor, and the sustain that Sona's going to be putting up will be helpful. So I see a fairly defensive lineup so far with both Sona and Shen, but Gambit, they think the horse is amazing.
The horse is amazing. If you give it a look, it tastes like raisins. You gotta love that champion. Now we've seen AP Master Yi. Yeah, okay, that might have been in trouble. But we've seen AP Yi picked back at IPL 5 to decent effect actually, but not
I believe Alex actually got a pentakill with him in that particular event. So has used it well. Not going to be picked here. Hecarim, not yet. Good point. Good point. Hecarim, a jungler that, you know, once you've removed some of these other sort of top tier junglers. Nasus Volibear have been banned out. Kale could have been a jungle. Elise could have been in the jungle as well. Jarvan the Fourth is the only real, if I dare say, top tier jungler at the moment, and Hecarim that's still there. Now Hecarim was used a lot in the opening weeks of the NALCS. We haven't seen too much of him here. Morden was playing him from Giants. I remember him playing twice in one particular weekend, did a lot of split pushing with him, picked up a lot of lane tax, and effectively used him as a split pusher, became one of the most farm champions in the game, but didn't have a very big impact on the team fights. He was focused on the split pushing mentality. Gambit, they can split push, but we know they prefer to play aggressive, they prefer to be in your face. And I'm just thinking of the combination of that ultimate from Hecarim, the Onslaught of Shadows, plus a wild growth. I think that is a terrifying, terrifying combo. And of course, SK have rounded up their lineup.
Yeah, they've grabbed up Ahri and they've grabbed up the Jarvan, which you said about 7 times so far in Champ Select. Like, hey, it's Jarvan.
It's Hercubot's go-to jungler right now.
To play Jarvan did, in fact, the Lulu out there as well. So, unless it's like top Jarvan, we've got the SK lineup right here. The option is there again, counterpicked by the Elise. The Gambit's going to show their mid laner as well. So they've got pretty much dibs on counterpick every single lane against Ahri.
Now the SK lineup at the moment though, you know, you see Ahri for the second time, you see yesterday from Oslo as well. Edward's all smiles when he's talking about there's not a lot of
se ti to podařilo, což?
Asi. Za mě dokonce quest bych nebyl už toho... Esko. To bylo toho... To bylo tím dančí.
Takže si dokončil ten Hollow Frost. Tu zimu prostě.
But I don't see how they want to play this matchup up, because Jarvan yesterday was covering the walls, got them a tough time, and Svenska did not have a very good game.
You're right, SK have a lot of initiation themselves, and the thing that I always have to think about when you see a split pusher like Shen, right, and we saw how well it worked for against all yesterday, is basically you have to deal with split push in some way. You either have someone who heads up fights better and can leave, and go support your team when Shen ults out, or you go all in and you fight 5 on 4s repeatedly. And you mentioned it, Hecarim Lulu, like that's kind of what I think Gambit's gonna have to key off of here. So again, we're getting into this game. You see the lineups up on screen. I don't think there's gonna be any lane swaps here. The lanes are all pretty obvious. And what you're seeing now are SK Gaming in third, knocking on top 2, and we'll see if Gambit opens the door.
Yeah, they're trying to get closer and closer, and you know, SK they're fairly comfortable at the moment, but Evil Geniuses have had a bye weekend, so you know, EG are going to be sitting back, watching these games, looking at what they can pick and decide to do. But the one thing that I do want to point out is that synergy of Elise and Cassidy. It's 2 sort of assassin-type champions that can burst down somebody very, very quickly and very effectively. And when we see Fnatic dealing with split pushing from, I think it was SK as well, actually, they would literally camp the Singe that was split pushing, and they used a Z and a Cassidy combination.
Just ještě jednou. Teď nevím, jestli jsem dostal M-blochovi, nebo E-blochovi.
So you couldn't split push because they simply assassinated you. I feel like this may be something similar. If SK do try to do some form of split pushing with that Shen, I imagine Gambit will try to respond in a similar fashion. Send those assassins there, pick up that kill, and then immediately come back to the rest of your team.
Of course, they do have a good amount of crowd control. Every single member on that team can do at least something to knock someone down. Getting away from the load screen, of course, you do see SK on your screen right here. It is on them to make all the moves. Now you're seeing Gambit once again. The load screen is there. You're seeing just these beautiful splash arts handcrafted by the Riot artists. I mean, there's the Sona in the top right. You've got a Lulu barely off screen.
I want to jump in there very, very quickly, because about a year ago when Ed was playing Sona almost exclusively,
No, oba dva.
Graphic update whereby Edward's face was imprinted onto the image, and every time he got a 3-man or 4-man crescendo, that image with his face on the persona was posted
Big Brother Adele.
Big Brother.
You no longer look at that splash shot without seeing Edward's face on it. It's been destroyed or improved, depends on your viewpoint.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm glad I've never seen that image. Edward's a phenomenal player, I'm happy about that, but I'm glad I've never seen that.
It is a little scary to say the least.
Sorry, I talked over you, but you said it's a little scary.
Yes, very true. But it is of course Niffling, solo for at least yes, he's been one of the top solo players.
Ten by měl být tež stejný ten, že?
I'm thinking back to like week 2, 3, and 4 where he would just hit so many huge crescendos. SK, they decided to go very, very aggressive here. They stacked up as 5. No idea where they are. And here comes the ball at vision. I think he's got vision of it. It looks like he's reacting.
He definitely saw something running very, very far away. SK trying to be sneaky, lurking around. They're picking the brush they're going into, right above Wraiths, get together and then try to pin their way down. But of course, Gambit are like, yeah, peace, we're going to this one. Edward knows he's safe. Look how far in he gets to ward. He gets to ward the Wraith brush because he knows no one is
to jenom objevilo, že můžu skočnout hero, když nám nic vybranýho. To bylo divný.
Getting a lot of as well in terms of the SK gaming jungle, so this is going to give him so much information on how he got clear times, on his positioning, and they're going to be cheeky enough and steal those double golems and the Wraiths.
Because SK doesn't know a lot about Gambit, they only know that, okay, we took control over the Wraith camp, they actually put the same wards down on the Wraith brush, but Gambit,
because they actually
know where SK have gone, they actually get to take more away from the jungle. They'll do but Gambit gets more out of this.
This is something that screams to me of something that Pepper was saying yesterday on the analysis decks, when he was talking about how teams need to react to what is going on. You can plan and plan and plan and plan, but if something doesn't go to strategy, then all of a sudden you simply need to react to your opponents. Gambit Gaming played very defensively there. They covered all the entrances to their weapon, and when they see SK going in, they went, oh, let's go steal their opponent's jungle. It was clear that SK had a game plan. They knew where they wanted to go, they knew where they wanted to ward, and it just didn't pay off. Didn't catch anybody, but they did steal.
You're seeing a small right here for Gambit. But you're seeing the junglers going to square off to what they're place. Working about left Diamond for the exact same place. Level 3, I believe, on both of them here. So, no major differences. We're just seeing the lanes kind of square off. Of course, SK have gone for 2-on-1 against Castan, though. That's going to be a little bit rough for Alex.
Yeah, trying to shut him down. Castan and Champion, you do not want to give any sort of leeway or any sort of control on the lane. The fact that the lane swap is happening, that is actually hurting SK for the time being, because Ocelot is a little further behind. He's been zoned a little bit more effectively by Edward's Lulu, and you can see now that with this massive creep wave here, Diamond Frogs is trying to set up to deny him as much golden experience as possible. And Ocelot's aware of it, but they're going into the top lane.
Yeah, they look for the propeller from Darren to be completely safe. Ocelot forced to flash away from Diamond, so still level 1. He will miss another multiple mini waves here. That long lane just gave so much room to zone him out. Ocelot still has 0 minions. That is rough for him.
Now, Alex has just hit level 3. That's a good shot for Diamond Frogs, because he has no abilities to work with.
Diamond at the top, he's been ignited. A lot of damage on his first blood. Going over to Kevin, great second dive right there. So, Ocelot with the safety, that's worth it overall.
Yeah, really, really well played. Good coordinated dive up there in the top lane. So, SK Gaming, they do balance out these lanes somewhat, giving first blood to Shen. However, Ocelot in the middle is just being so negatively impacted. He's just hit level 2 at 4 minutes on the clock and gotten 2 creeps. He started with Charm because they were anticipating a fight in the jungle. He wasn't able to farm or deal any damage at all with that Orb Deception, and that is what's putting him behind everybody. This is patch 3.04, so the Demacian standard no longer gives the aura buff to your teammates when that flag goes down from Jarvan.
The turret, though, damage increase not here, and the Crepo from yesterday, it does not deal more damage to minions, only champions. He nods in wholehearted agreement and says, thank you, Freak, for correcting me. And of course now, we're just kind of going back over the lanes. Kevin had used a red elixir here, level 4 versus level 3. So he's got an experience and gold advantage very clearly, up 16 minions. We'll see if he can keep making Darian's life miserable.
It's definitely going to help him out as well, because that's a matchup that's quite difficult for Shen in many cases against an Elise. The fact that it's percentage damage, and she can pretty much deal with the movements and the shields that Shen offers. You know, can get through the taunt, can repel onto him, carry on chasing down in spider form. So it's very good that he has that gold until he spends the money. However, the advantage isn't going to be there. Now they're going to go aggressive onto Alex. The knockup misses.
He does land that slow though, at least a little bit. The charm goes off. Nice dodge there by Alex. He's going to get away from this one. Doesn't even land the orb of deception either. So Alex with the beats and a flask is going to survive for now.
So exactly like we were saying at the beginning, it is going to be standard lanes for the time being, albeit in different positions. So we're going to see your standard AD carry support against one another, which is a matchup we don't see all that often anymore. So often the lane swaps and the push meta, as it were, just getting towers as quickly as possible is the favor. But both of these combos, while they can push waves relatively quickly, they're not the fastest wave clearers that we've seen from the AD carry supports. Diamond Fox, he's got the speed boost up and he's going in on Nif.
He's going to look for it. Knocks the shot a little bit. The counter is here from Hercubot. Will he go in? Does not want to actually push in onto Edward. So they don't get much out of that one. Just a little bit of damage to Candy Panda and not a lot of counterattack.
Such great positioning from Hercubot. He sort of sniffed that gank a little bit, was just cleared his Wraith camp out and was setting up, you know, towards that mid lane. But just the presence was enough to scare Diamond Procs away and move them a little further back. So very good play. Even
he's ten žebřík v tom Submarine Orbe. Ten žebřík dolů a tam je ta koza. Já přejdu dolů a tam se mi to začne nehrazně lagat, dokud nevyjdu nahoru.
Much more, but a 1-for-1.
Yeah, 1-for-1 trade kill does go on to Diamond Procs, which is very good. But of course, the fact that the AD carry of Graves picked up that first kill in the mid lane, he now has a BF sword to back up that Doran's blade. It is such a big damage advantage for him. Genja does tend to build something like a double Bloodthirster on his Misfortune. We'll see if he goes that route this time as well. He just wants to get the scaling off of his ultimate.
And we'll see how that ends up panning out in the team fights and what kind of route he wants to go for. So you can always look for single target damage output with auto attacks instead. For him, steals away. He saw that Hercubot was there, farming out the mid lane, defending the turret, so he got Now we of course see the junglers go back to their own territory here. Hercubot getting his lizard buff for himself, using 31-47. The junglers are pretty close in terms of
já už vím asi proč, protože já jsem to dostal až potom level jakoby, co jsem dělal tu mapu. Jsem se bral ještě něco a nějaký ten sidequest jsem jakoby splnil, což mi dalo.
Genja yesterday when he was playing Ashe,
a to už se nezobrazilo.
Almost relied on his volleys in team
tak jsem to zobrazilo teďka.
He didn't get stuck in quite as much, and it could be a symptom of playing so much Misfortune where you rely so heavily on your bullet time and positioning in team fights to get a good channel on your ultimate, and that is really what helps secure you those advantages. So we'll see how he's already got that Vamp Scepter, and he gets a small CS advantage over Candy Panda. But other than a couple of ganks, it's just been a lot of farming as Alex gets caught by a taunt.
He does land some nice